Bill, thanks for being here with me. I want to start with your story from carpentry to the C-suite. That's a journey that's unique, one that folks might not expect. How did your background as a cabinet maker shape the way you lead in tech today?
I think in a lot of ways it helped me build the foundation of who I am and how I lead today. Right. When you think about cabinet making, it really revolves around precision, craftsmanship. These are not optional. This is kind of how you have to operate. And you learn very quickly to kind of measure things twice and cut once and pay attention to details, even if nobody else is going to see them. That mindset translates directly on how I lead today. The practical problem solving skills that, help shape my leadership. I focus on building foundations, strong foundations, making the necessary adjustments, and then staying close to people who are doing the real work.
So you talk a lot about growth mindset, not simply for yourself, but also across the company. Why do you think creating space to learn out loud is so important, especially in today's channel ecosystem?
When you think about, learning and you think about the transformation that everyone is going through right now, it really revolves around the art of possible. And, having to have those dialogues around, what is possible forces us to look at things differently and learn differently. And I think the power of learning throughout your entire career is critical. If you look at the pace of our industry, and I think in almost any industry, technology is driving change at a rate none of us are familiar with. And so learning and staying on top of what's happening is going to be critical for anyone coming into the workforce in the future, or any leader for that matter.
Let's pivot and talk about strategy. You've helped lead Ingram Micro through big changes, specifically with platforms like Xvantage. What does platform mindset look like, and how is it helping partners right now?
A platform mindset should always be focused on putting the partner at the center of everything you do and providing a level of experience that is something that most people have grown to expect in their day-to-day lives. When you think about how technology is delivering a differentiated experience from what I ever had growing up. I used to have to go to the movie theaters. I used to have to go get DVDs and plug them into a little box on my TV. And today I can just click on anything I want to watch and it's delivered real time to my home. And so I think that experience is what draws me back to that company, to that organization. And so when you think about, the strategy and a platform mindset, it's really around that customer experience that's critical to be successful.
Culture comes up a lot when we talk about Ingram Micro, which I know is intentional. What are the secrets to building a company culture that scales while keeping people connected?
I like to think of it as don't take yourself too serious, right? As a Fortune 100 company, if you come behind our four walls and you walk the halls of Ingram Micro, you're going to see that we very much operate like a small company, like a small family-run organization. And I think that's really the secret to kind of our culture. We also really focus a lot around the traditions that help shape us and build us as a company, right? And then if I look at, even this year where we really plugged into our local community and we started to engage where we work and live and do more around. So for example, our Pride Parade and our Juneteenth Parade were some of the biggest we've ever done, right? We were able to actually have a float and have a lot of folks participate, and it was a lot of fun. And I think making those relationships outside of the office help to strengthen when you're back in the office.
Beautiful. Well, our time has flown by today, and this is our last question. What advice would you give to leaders who are trying to evolve their teams and culture while also keeping up with rapid tech challenges?
Yeah, that's a great question. But when you really start with the purpose and vision, so you design that North Star and you get everyone to understand where you're going. And then I think it's really important to anchor your messaging and set a clear expectation around why, not just what you have to go do, but why you're doing what you're doing. And then I think if you connect the technology to that outcome and you help your teams understand where you're going as an organization, that's number one. I think culture and technology should be interwoven. I think sometimes people look at it as two different things. Your culture of listening to your team, gaining insights from them on what is needed to give that best support to partners. You'd be surprised at how much insight you get from the folks on the front lines, all the way through the organization, who are going to come at things from a very different perspective. So I think listening to your teams and pulling from your teams that wisdom that they're going to bring makes them feel connected to what you're doing. And then if they know why you're doing it, well, now that's the perfect formula for success.
Bill, your journey reminds us that innovation doesn't always start with knowing the answer. It starts with the courage to ask deeper questions. I thank you a lot for sharing your story and giving us a glimpse of what inclusive leadership looks like at Ingram Micro.
Thank you, Cass. It was great spending this time with you.